Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tell you a story that begins with silence. The kind of silence that lives inside a house where hope has been packed away like an old photograph you're afraid to look at. It's a story about a powerful CEO, a daughter who could no longer move, and a single dad whose quiet words changed everything. The CEO's name was Daniel Cross. The media knew him as ruthless, brilliant, unstoppable. He ran one of the largest tech firms in the country, negotiated billion-dollar deals before breakfast, and never showed weakness in public. But behind the glass walls of his mansion, Daniel was a broken man. Every evening, he sat in a wheelchair-accessible living room, watching his 16-year-old daughter Emma stare at the ceiling, unmoving, expressionless. 3 years earlier, Emma had been full of life. She danced competitively, laughed loudly, and dreamed of becoming a choreographer. Then came the accident. A rainy night, a driver who ran a red light, and a crash that shattered her spine. The doctors did everything they could. The best surgeons, the most advanced procedures, experimental therapies flown in from overseas. Daniel spared no expense. But the verdict never changed. Paralysis from the waist down, possibly permanent. At first, Emma fought. Physical therapy sessions left her exhausted and in tears, but she pushed through them. Daniel watched every session, clapping too loudly, encouraging too hard, as if his belief alone could make her walk again. But months passed, then years. Progress stopped. The doctor stopped using hopeful language. And slowly, painfully, Emma gave up. She stopped trying in therapy, stopped smiling, stopped asking about school friends. She refused visitors and turned her face to the wall when nurses came in. The spark that once lit up Daniel's world faded until there was nothing left but emptiness. Daniel could handle hostile boardrooms and financial disasters, but this defeated him. One afternoon, Daniel decided to take Emma to a small rehabilitation center on the edge of town. It wasn't fancy, and it certainly wasn't famous, but he was out of options. And something inside him whispered that maybe a quieter place might help. Emma didn't protest. She didn't react at all. She just stared ahead as her wheelchair was loaded into the car. That's where they met him. His name was Luke. He was a single dad in his late 30s, worn jeans, tired eyes, and hands rough from manual labor. He brought his 8-year-old son, Noah, to the same center every day. Noah had a neurological condition that affected his balance and coordination. Luke couldn't afford private hospitals or celebrity doctors. He worked nights and cleaned buildings on weekends just to pay for therapy. But every day, he showed up. Every single day, Daniel noticed Luke because he was different from the others. He didn't hover anxiously or complain. He sat on the floor during sessions, cheering softly, turning exercises into games, celebrating the smallest improvements like miracles. Noah laughed constantly. It was a sound Daniel hadn't heard near Emma in years. Emma noticed them too. At first, only out of boredom, then curiosity. Noah would fall, get back up, fall again, and laugh as if it were the best joke in the world. Luke never said, "Be careful" or "Don't do that." He just said, "Try again, buddy. You're stronger than yesterday." One day, after a particularly rough session, Emma wheeled herself into the quiet garden behind the center. She sat there alone, staring at the flowers she could no longer reach. Luke was there with Noah, helping him stretch. When Noah wandered off to chase a butterfly, Luke noticed Emma sitting silently nearby. He didn't recognize her as the CEO's daughter. He didn't know who Daniel Cross was. He just saw a teenage girl with eyes full of sadness. After a long moment, Luke spoke softly, almost to himself. "Giving up feels safe, doesn't it?" Emma didn't answer. Luke continued, not pushing. "When you stop hoping, nothing can hurt you anymore. That's what I thought once." Emma finally turned her head slightly. "You don't know anything about me," she said flatly. Luke nodded. "You're right. I don't, but I know what it's like to feel trapped in a body that won't cooperate. And I know what it's like to feel like the world moved on without you." There was something in his voice. Not pity, not authority, just truth. Then he said the words that would change everything. He leaned closer, careful not to invade her space, and whispered, "I'll help her." Emma frowned. "Help who?" Luke smiled gently. "The part of you that's still fighting, even if you think it's gone." For the first time in years, Emma felt something crack inside her chest. Not hope exactly, but curiosity. Luke didn't promise a miracle. He didn't say she'd walk again. He just offered help. Simple, honest help. Over the next few days, Luke started including Emma in small things. He asked her to keep score during Noah's exercises, asked her opinion on games, joked with her like she was just another person, not someone fragile or broken. Daniel watched from a distance, unsure how to feel. Part of him wanted to intervene. Another part saw something he hadn't seen in years. Emma was engaged. One afternoon, Luke asked Emma if she'd ever tried upper body adaptive training mixed with rhythm therapy. She shrugged. "Probably. I've tried everything." Luke nodded. "Maybe. But have you tried it with music you actually love?" Emma hesitated. "What difference does that make?" "All the difference," Luke said. "The body listens better when the heart is involved." Daniel wanted to object. This man wasn't a doctor, but something stopped him. Desperation, maybe. or trust he didn't know he still had. They tried it. Emma chose the music she used to dance to. At first, nothing changed. But then her posture shifted slightly. Her arms moved with more intention. Her breathing synced with the rhythm. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Days turned into weeks. Emma started participating again, not because she believed she'd walk, but because Luke made the process feel meaningful. He talked to her about his own failures, about losing his wife, about raising Noah alone. He never compared their struggles. He just shared his humanity. Daniel finally spoke to Luke one evening, thanking him awkwardly. Luke shrugged it off. "I'm not fixing her," he said. "She's doing that herself." Then came the setback. Emma woke up one morning unable to move her fingers properly. Panic set in. Doctors ran tests. Temporary nerve inflammation, they said, but Emma spiraled. All the old fear rushed back. She refused therapy again, locked herself in her room. Daniel felt the familiar helplessness closing in. He called Luke, unsure why. Luke arrived quietly, sat outside Emma's door, and spoke through it. "You know," he said calmly, "Noah lost his balance completely last year. Couldn't stand it all. Doctors said it might never come back." He cried for days. Then one morning, he looked at me and said, "Dad, even if I can't stand, can I still try?" Emma listened silently. Luke continued, "Trying doesn't guarantee success, but quitting guarantees nothing changes." There was a long pause. Then the door opened. Emma didn't magically recover. There was no sudden cure, but something shifted permanently that day. She committed again, not to walking, but to living. Months later, she gained partial sensation, then improved upper body strength. Then something the doctors didn't expect, limited assisted standing. Daniel cried openly for the first time since the accident. Media outlets eventually found out. They wanted headlines, miracle angles, inspirational stories. Daniel refused them all. This wasn't a spectacle. It was personal. Emma graduated high school online, then chose to study physical therapy, psychology. She wanted to help others the way she had been helped. Luke never accepted money from Daniel, though Daniel later funded a rehabilitation wing in Noah's name. Years later, Emma still used a wheelchair most days, but she stood at her graduation ceremony with support braces, smiling, strong, alive. Luke and Noah were there, cheering the loudest, and Daniel finally understood something he'd missed all along. Power doesn't come from control or wealth. It comes from connection, from one human being whispering hope into another when the world has gone quiet. Sometimes, the people who change our lives don't arrive with credentials or promises. Sometimes, they arrive tired, honest, and willing to say, "I'll help her." And that can be enough to bring hope back to life.